For those of you who don't know me, my name is Leanne Vogel. I'm a holistic nutritionist and high-fat enthusiast behind the site healthfulpursuit.com, and I help women regulate their hormones, balance their metabolisms, and generally be awesome by eating more fat. Today, as all of our Q&As, we join live Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern to chat on Periscope and Facebook Live. I record these, so if you don't get to meet up with us at least once a month, then you can check out all the recordings at healthfulpursuit.com/live. We've started adding blog posts. I always say I've started adding blog posts for all of these videos and uploading them to YouTube. So if you miss it, don't worry. If you have questions, join us live and I'll answer your questions. And so that I can continue to do these and offer you guys really good content and free content, I've partnered up with a couple of partners for the rest of the year to support our Q&As. And our first partner is Organic India Tulsi Tea. I'll make sure both of you guys can see it, all of you guys rather, on both spaces. My favorite is their sweet rose tea. They're the makers of the original Tulsi tea. This stuff is awesome. I'm steeping this actually right now for my rocket fuel latte. So you can check out more from Organic India by going to healthfulpursuit.com/OI. So, hit me with your questions. Let's do it. I have a couple of questions that came in on our private Facebook group, which is available to everyone who purchases my keto products. Okay. Tips for better fat absorption. Okay, so let's talk about fat absorption really quickly. Because we talk about this a lot with gallbladder stuff, and I feel like there's a lot of questions about gallbladder and digestion. Basically, if you're having a hard time breaking down fat, my first recommendation would be to pump up your bile production. That's fermented foods. Have fermented foods at every meal. Kimchi, sauerkraut, fermented pickles, water Kavita, anything like that. If you can do dairy, water Kavita, I meant water kefir, but Kavita is my favorite brand. If you can do dairy, like the really natural, awesome yogurts, and I would take a digestive enzyme that also has ox bile in it. Okay, so I'm hypothyroid, estrogen dominant, and have been ultra low carb for about 5 months. I am starting to lose my hair and generally feel I think it is from being too low carb. You're probably right. I experienced the same thing, only I had hypothyroidism and estrogen, like no estrogen. The light switch was turned off on all of the hormones. So yeah, definitely you're probably eating too low carb, Katie. My recommendation to you would be to try Carb Ups. It's a protocol that I put together after I started losing my hair and not sleeping on low carb and keto. And so now I have carbs. You know, at first it was like carbs every night, and then it was carbs every other night, and then it was carbs once or twice a week, and now it's just like really just carbs when I feel like carbs. Like, oh my gosh, it's nighttime, I feel like carbs. So the trick to the Carb Up is to have your carbs at night. That is the key here because of a bunch. Okay, so there's somebody that keeps saying ketoacidosis, and this is not what we're talking about. So totally different thing. Okay. Yes, so too low carb, what you want to do is have those carbs at night. And the reason you want to have the carbs at night is because if you have carbs in the morning, you're going to be on a carb high, low all day, and you're just going to want more carbs. Or if you have carbs at night, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, and actually the last couple of hours that you sleep, so the last little bit of your sleep cycle, you actually burn more carbohydrates when you're sleeping in that last bit of the cycle than you do when you're awake. And the whole concept of like, I eat all my food in the morning so that I can burn it all day, that's not like, that doesn't make any sense. It's not like your body like burns more calories when it's awake and then it stops when it's sleeping, and somehow if you eat it all before bed, then like it just doesn't make any logical sense. I need to come up with an analogy for this. OMG, I can't believe you still say Carb Up. What? Why, Shirley? Why can't you believe I still say Carb Up? Definitely let me know if there's like something that you read or anything. I'd love to clarify what you mean by that. Yeah, so I would say check out Carb Ups. You can learn more about it by going up here. If you're watching this on the replay, or down below, I'll include a Carb Up video. And if you're watching this live with me right now, just go to the Google machine and type in Healthful Pursuit Carb Up, and you will get all the videos you need. Okay, craving. I don't understand what you're saying, Shirley. I'd love to answer your question in regards to Carb Ups. If you do it correctly, so let's go a little bit more into Carb Ups because there seems to be a lot of questions about it. If you do the Carb Ups at night, so this is assuming that you are fat adapted. So a fat adaptation, I actually have a video coming out about this. It's actually, you shouldn't, if you're doing it correctly, you actually shouldn't crave carbs after doing a Carb Up. So here's what I mean by this. If you're in a glucose burning state, which a lot of, normal people are, we crave carbs because our body thinks that carbs are the only fuel for us. So we have carbs, we use the carbs, we need more carbs. And if we're constantly on this rigmarole of needing more carbs, of course we're going to crave more carbs because we need more carbs. But if we reduce our amount of carbohydrates, increase our fats, use that process of becoming fat adapted, so we go 1, 2, 3 weeks of eating low carb until our body understands that carbs are not the only fuel, that we can burn fat. So it starts to understand, oh, okay, like we can burn fat. And the more adapted you become, the less likely you will become at craving carbs. So for example, if you eat low carb, high fat for say 3 weeks, and then you have a Carb Up, your body will use those carbs and switch back into fat burning mode because it has the metabolic processes and it has the enzymatic processes in place to do the switch really easily. It's like jumping back and forth. But at first, let's say you go low carb, high fat for 5 days and then you eat carbs. Yeah, of course you're going to crave the carbs because your body doesn't have a good sense of making that switch. So here's the thing. When you're using one of my fat fueled profiles, let's say you're on the daily fat burner fat fueled profile, which is in my program Fat Fueled. If you're watching this on the replay, I'll include a link up here and also down below. If you're not, you can go to healthfulpursuit.com/fat fueled. If people want to write that in the comments, that would be awesome. So if you're doing the daily fat burner fat fueled profile, which is you're not really eating low carb, high fat, like right off the bat, like you're eating low carb, high fat, and then carbs every night. The reason a lot of people need to do this is because literally their bodies cannot handle going low carb, like balls to the wall, without everything falling apart. So what we can do is slowly encourage your body to understand fat adaptation without totally stressing it out. So the process of a daily fat burner, fat fueled person is that you are going to take maybe 3-4 months to get to that place where you're jumping back and forth. Whereas somebody who perhaps goes low carb, high fat, like strictly low carb, high fat, for a period of say 3 weeks, they can do the jump quicker. I hope that makes sense. I hope it clarifies things. Let me know if you have any other questions. How many carbs? Okay, so how many carbs do you recommend eating for the first few weeks when becoming fat adapted before doing Carb Ups? So let's talk about becoming fat adapted. If your health is in really good state and say you don't have hypothyroidism, your adrenals are ace, you're doing really well, then my recommendation to you would be to go as low carb as you can to get fat adapted quicker. And when I say that, as low carb as you can is different for a lot of people. I'm not saying go no carb, especially for women. I'm not saying go no carb. I'm not saying go 10 grams of carbs or 20 grams of carbs. I'm saying go the lowest that your body can handle. For me, I know that my body can't handle 20 grams of carbs. That's just not a thing. It's not a thing. My hair falls out. I get really cranky. Anxiety is at an all-time high. That's not a thing for me. For me, I can, when I was first adapting, I was doing the 20 gram of carb thing. That didn't work for me. So 50 grams seemed to be like the ideal place. So I would do the more is more approach. More is awesome. By starting out and playing with it, like do 80 grams that doesn't work, do 70, do 60, 50, 40, 30. And you'll probably have to do this for like a little while to get the hang of it. But I mean, the lower you can go, the quicker you're going to adapt. The more anaerobic exercise that you do to cut through those glucose stores, the quicker you're going to adapt. So I hope that answers your question. Let's head on over to Periscope for a couple of questions, because Facebook Live is so much easier to answer, guys. See if a question comes in Periscope. Otherwise, I'm going to go to one of the Facebook items about fertility. Okay, so we got a question from Kat about her and her husband have been dealing with fertility issues for years. The husband got surgery and now they can start trying to conceive. She hasn't had a period in months. She thinks it's due to crash dieting in the past. She's been keto for 2 months, but still no period. She has been able to go low carb before with a regular cycle. Her question: what is the fastest way to get your period back? Okay. The quickest way to get your period back is to eat all the things. Like, eat everything. And you can still eat everything and eat a ton of fat. I took the really long way of getting my period back, like a 10-year route. So if you want your period back quickly, I would say if you know that the diet mentality caused this, like, get off the diet wagon. Like, just get off of it. If you find that keto feels really good for you, just don't restrict and see if that gets it back. And let me know how it goes. You could also work with an endocrinologist. I found DHEA as being really helpful. But yeah, like, you gotta eat. You have to eat, and you're probably gonna have to gain weight. I had to gain weight, and although it's not like the ideal body that I used to go toward, I'm a woman. Women are supposed to have, like, or rather, I shouldn't say that. It's okay for women to have curves and to be like plumpy, like that fat on your body is what creates, in part, your fertility. Like, when your body knows that you're safe and you're taking in enough fuel and there's enough fat on your body, it's going to be fertile and it's going to know it's a safe environment. So that may mean that you have like chunky bits here and like here and like here and here, but if it means that you get to have a baby or that you're healthy, like, who cares? Okay, let's go over to how do you handle the haters? I'm doing okay, but sometimes people can be intense. Sina, is that how you pronounce your name? Do you mean haters like in my business, like people that hate on me, or just people that maybe talk about my diet to me? For people that talk about my diet, I literally don't have anyone in my life that like judges me for my eating style. Nobody really says anything about my eating when I'm out with people. And for haters in the world, like, there's a bunch of stuff coming up on Periscope of people being rude, or I get a lot of comments on my birthmark, or like, so I had my birthmark removed because it was cancerous, and it was a hugely traumatic experience for me in my teens. And people hate on it all the time and say that like my husband beats me and stuff. It's just crazy. And instead of feeling like really horrible about those things and being like, oh my gosh, people hate me and how, you know, I should get plastic surgery to fix my scar and all the crazy things that I could think, it's like, how sad are their lives that they have to pick on somebody they don't know about something they don't know about? Like, that really sucks for them. Like, I literally have no time to make negative comments to anyone because I'm out rocking my life. And so they're not. And like, that's really sad. So I just send them like a warm fuzzy, be like, somebody just needs to give you a hug. That's how I deal with it. And I move on because I'm living my truth, and you can too, but I'm not going to let you affect that. Somebody's asking me to speak Finnish. I don't speak Finnish. I speak a little bit of the German, but that is about it. Okay, let's talk about cravings, because we talked about it a little bit earlier before. Let's get into a little bit of the cravings, because this took me a while to figure out on my own. So there can be cravings of our body. There can be cravings that our body needs the certain foods that it's craving. And then there's cravings like, say, blood sugar irregularities that need to be addressed instead of, if you eat a bag of candy and then the next day you crave candy, it's probably not because your body needs candy. It's probably because you ate candy before and then you want to eat more candy. Like, that's probably what that is. In regards to, let's say, carbohydrate cravings on low carb, generally it's because you're not eating enough carbs. So if you're constantly feeling like, oh my gosh, I just need carbs right now, and it's been like, say, 3 months of you eating extremely low carb, then it's probably because you're not eating enough carbs. If you're craving chocolate, for example, on low carb, usually that's a good indication that you, like, any of the cravings of sweet things that you're trying to like mitigate by eating things that are keto safe but that's still not satisfying you, that can be like sort of your requirement of needing more carbs. And like, let's say that there's some theory out there, and I totally prescribe to it, where if you crave certain foods it means other things. So I know that if I'm craving chocolate, it's probably because I need more magnesium or I need more fruit. So if I'm craving chocolate, I may eat the chocolate. And the way that I tell the difference, and this requires you to feel your body a little bit more. And I've been meditating for quite a while and doing yoga, so I start to understand like how my body feels. But if I'm craving chocolate and it's an emotional reason, and maybe I had a bad day or I'm feeling tense, I feel it like up in my chest area. And if I'm craving chocolate and I just really want the chocolate and it's more of a body needing thing, I kind of feel it in my like abdomen area. It's different for everybody, but if you're craving the things that you don't want to eat, maybe take a moment to like sit with yourself and feel like, what's going on in my day? What happened today? Do I have an emotional connection to that food? For example, when I'm craving candy, I know it's because I'm sad or I'm lonely, because my dad and I used to eat candy all the time together. So when I'm sad and lonely and I just need a hug and a friend, oftentimes I crave candy. And if I don't get that hug and a friend, I eat candy, because that's how I know how to cope with those feelings. So I know that all I need to do is ask a friend for a hug, go out for a walk with a friend, call a close girlfriend, and it's solved, and then I don't want the candy. So it's fun. I keep a cravings journal so that I know, like, hey, Leanne, when you want chocolate, try this and this. So that's kind of the tips that I have on cravings. Okay, let's go to a question that we got on the Facebook group. Carrie, she naturally intermittent fasts every day because she's not hungry in the morning. She drinks a rocket fuel latte in the morning, and then her first meal, is around 1 or 2. She feels fine all day, then becomes really hungry after dinner and feels like she overeats. Her question, she always eats when she's hungry, but in her extra hungriness, overeating at dinner as a result of doing something wrong. She eats intuitively. I think this goes back to the whole, like, okay, so eating at night isn't a bad thing. There's actually not a lot out there saying, like, if you eat at night, you're going to gain all this weight. If you're hungry, eat. The only thing I would say is that if you're always hungry at night, it could point to some sort of hormone imbalance. My brain is instantly going to adrenals. So if your adrenals are down-regulated in the morning, it probably, like, that cortisol won't be spiking, which doesn't stimulate your appetite. And then when your cortisol is supposed to be chilled out in the evening, which should contribute to a little bit of a decrease in your appetite, if it's stimulated, you're going to get hungrier. So I would take a look at your cortisol. If you can test it, awesome. Cortisol AM for your blood, or just a cortisol test in the morning for your saliva. Otherwise, it's okay to eat at night. It's not going to make you like gain a bunch of weight. If you're hungry and you, like, logically, if you haven't eaten all day, then you're probably going to be hungry at night. Like, you haven't eaten all day. So listen to your body on that. There was a question that just came up on Periscope, something about protein bars. But can you ask that question again? Was it protein bars? Can you just say yes or no? And we'll make that a question. I'm just going to start talking about protein because I just tried Ancient Nutrition's bone broth protein. It is awesome. It is so good. So here's what I've been doing. My morning snack after my rocket fuel latte, I've been having that like before my first meal, and I love it. So highly recommend that. And then my fat bombs I've been adding collagen into, so I'm getting like loads of collagen and awesome things. And then protein bars. Kevin really likes the bulletproof protein bars with the collagen and stuff. It has a bunch of things in it that I can't eat, like nuts, like cashews are really bad for me. Like my body just does not like cashews. And I think there's eggs in that one. So not really a keto protein bar, but I do really love them, is the Primal Kitchen dark almond protein bar. I love it. It's got like quite a lot of carbs. But if I need chocolate and I need something on the go, it's awesome. My go-to protein, like that I always put in my purse, is either Epic liver bites or Epic venison or salmon, because they're just sea salt and pepper and they're really easy. They don't have any fruit. And then I love Paleo Valley. Have you guys heard about Paleo Valley? They're brand new to me. I met them at Paleo FX, and they're fermented beef sticks. So they're fermented and they have over 1 billion strains in it, which is awesome. And they're actually partnering up with the podcast for the next little bit. Really, really exciting because they're so good. 0 carbs, awesome. Lots of protein, really good fats, and they're fermented, which is great. So you can find out more from them. Is paleovalley.com/keto. And they've put together a little package for me that when you use that URL, you get 20% off your whole order. And fermented, like when do you get to eat fermented protein? Like that will fix, and assist rather, your fat breakdown. It's a fermented food. You can add that to your mixture of fermented foods and your gut can be better for it, and you get protein, 0 carbs, so good. It's like the first meat stick I can feel good about eating. So yeah, there you have it. Another Q&A. We did it. This is so great. I'm going to head out now. I'm cooking some granola for the weekend and I can smell it almost burning. So I'm going to go save my granola. The promo code, there actually is no promo code for Paleo Valley. All you have to do is go to paleovalley.com/keto. And if you order from that URL, you instantly get the 20% off. So you don't need to worry about promo codes or anything. Just go paleovalley.com/keto. And I'll include a link up here and also down below for people that are watching this on the replay. Okay, guys, we did it. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next Thursday.